A Jesuit priest brutally slain inside his monastery in Syria. Is this killing just the latest in an ongoing persecution of Christians in the Middle East? We will talk with Father James Mulford in just a few minutes.
And the case of embattled ex-IRS Chief Lois Lerner will be sent to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. We'll talk to Republican strategist Ford O'Connell about his take on this issue in this hour.
Republicans in Congress want to prove me wrong? If they want to show that they in fact do care about women being paid the same as men, then show me. They can start tomorrow.
Well, the Paycheck Fairness Act being taken up by the Senate today was rejected there. President Obama has called on Republicans to support the legislation aimed at doing more to help women gain equal footing in the workplace. We'll get an opinion of Mallory Factor, the author of Big Tent, his new book on the conservative traditions in politics, coming later on in the program.
And we welcome you into Hour 2 of America's Forum. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
And I'm John Bachman. J.D., one of the most disturbing trends around the globe right now is the persecutions of Christians in many countries in Africa and in the Middle East. Pope Francis is denouncing today the brutal slaying of an elderly Jesuit priest in Syria. A masked gunman killed the priest in his monastery in the city of Homs. Francis is calling for an end to the violence and told congregants at the Vatican that the murder has filled him with profound pain and sadness. The motives for the attack are not known, but they've stoked fears among many Christians in Syria. They fear that for the fate of their communities as Islamic extremists gain a foothold in the region. Well, joining us right now to discuss this is Father James Mulford. He's the publisher of the ZENIT news agency. He's based in Rome. He's here with us today on the set of America's Forum. Father, it's great to have you here with us.
It's great to be back.
We really do appreciate it, Father James, because you came all the way from Rome, and here you are with us at Newsmax TV in sunny South Florida. This story coming out of the Middle East, and to see the persecution going on worldwide, officially the word is that motives for the attack unknown. Do you think it's just persecution of Christians?
Well, Jerry, I think you mentioned it. It's not just something in Syria, it's something around the world. I mean, first to address particularly what happened there. It's a Jesuit priest who has been working in Syria since the late 60s. I mean, he's been there for almost 40, over 40 years. And the Christians were actually fleeing the area. And from the information that I have from our news agency, that there were only about 20, 30 Christians left in the entire community. And he had been offered with many others to leave with them, and he said, no, I've been here all of my life, and I'm going to stay here to support my people. And what it seems is that it wasn't that that he was hunted down in the church. He was actually, it seems that he was out gardening. He was just working in his garden on a normal day, and someone came up and point blank and shot him twice in the head. So it's unfortunately it's the point of the iceberg. No, it's something that happened there in Syria. It's showing the unrest. If we go to other parts of the world, we'll see that it takes different connotations. But unfortunately, it's sad to see. You mentioned that I do live in Rome, and it's good to come here, get a little bit of sun. It's sort of been a little bit rainy and cold over there, but you don't have to go back to the Roman forums or the Colosseum to find martyrs and to find persecution.
We see this, and as we see video of Pope Francis and his immense popularity, it is worth noting that within the Christian community there has been fractious debate and changes through the years. This new pontiff calling for a spirit of reconciliation, not only to charismatic Catholics, but to Protestants. He has worked to engage so many people. I know it's early on in his papacy, but does this already set the foundation for how he's going to be remembered?
I think just a few weeks ago he celebrated the first anniversary of his papacy. As a matter of fact, the day he began his papacy was my last interview here in Newsmax. So I feel privileged to be back again. And I was asked that same question. It was the first day of his papacy, so I said, there wasn't a lot to go on. But I think what has been a big surprise to the person of Pope Francis has been his simplicity, his humility. Everyone has been able to see that it's not artificial, it's not made up, it's not fake, that some of the people that I know, both lay people and priests who have known him for many years in Argentina, saying, well, this is the man that he is. I mean, he took the public bus every day, didn't own a car, didn't have a driver. Actually, he had a small apartment where he lived when he was an archbishop and cardinal, and there was a handicapped elderly Jesuit priest who lived with him because he had no place else to stay, and he said, I'll take care of him. So I mean, he's always been a very kind, compassionate person, and now that he's been elected by his fellow cardinals to be the Pope, that authenticity, humility, it comes out in everything he does.
The comparisons are somewhat natural, Father. They're being made between Pope Francis and Pope John Paul, who's going to be canonized here very soon, especially when you see the crowds that showed up to hear the Pope speak in Brazil last year. Do you think those comparisons are fair? Do you think that Pope Francis will have a similar impact, not just on the Church, but the church's role in global geopolitics and authority around the world? Well,
I think the comparisons is what we're made out of. You know, we're human beings. We always compare. And I think that it's a good comparison between John Paul II and between Pope Francis. At the same time, I was ordained a priest by John Paul II, and I won't say that we were close friends and had dinner every day, but we had an opportunity to speak on several occasions, and I was able to accompany the Pope in different places. And I was just in Rio de Janeiro last summer with Pope Francis. I would say you have to put it in the historical context, because Pope John Paul II. You're talking, this was the first non-Italian Pope in 600 years, so even for the Catholics, that was kind of a surprise, number one. Number two, we had the Berlin Wall, we had the Cold War, a man from Poland who lived in a communist country, but where the people were not really communist, and he didn't bring down communism, he didn't tear down the Berlin Wall, but together with President Reagan and other people around the world, there was a confluation of circumstances and of forces that did make that happen. Now, I think, after several years have gone by, the situation of the world right now, I think it needs something new, and I think that the world needs now. Pope Francis is kind of offering that.
As you were recounting the papacy of John Paul II, henceforth John Paul the Great, I believe, is the nomenclature that some people are utilizing. I think back to another chapter in his papacy, one that was incredibly dramatic and violent, the attack by Mahmoud Ali Ajah, the Pakistani Muslim, against the Pope, and perhaps the most stirring image of forgiveness, a Christian Pope with his Muslim attacker. We go from that incredibly personal action of forgiveness to geopolitics and the relationship of Muslims. We began the interview talking about the persecution of Christians in predominantly Muslim lands. What can Pope Francis do to open the doors of dialogue, or are there such theological differences that this cannot be bridged?
Well, honestly, I'd say that I think the doors are being opened, but I think it's all based on a one-to-one relationship. It's true. The Catholic Church, the Vatican, the Holy See, has an institutional role, and they're always conscious of what's going on all around the world. I was just checking the Vatican website to see the latest thing that the Pope has been doing, and just page after page, you realize we're here in the United States, and we're interested in our issues here in the U.S. But the Vatican always has its eyes out for things that are going on all around the world, and I would say, that those doors have been, or those channels have been pursued for many years, I would say even centuries, and I don't think it's a problem of doctrine, I don't think it's a problem of churches, organizations, I think it's a problem of individuals. I'll just, a very quick story, that this morning coming here from Miami, an older man, Avi from Haifa, who's an Israeli. He's been living here in Miami for several years, and he's Jewish, and I'm a Catholic, and he was saying some of his best friends are Arabs, and he was saying that it's not a problem that the problem is between governments, it's between power, it's between politicians, but how he said, I grew up with Arab friends, we went to school together, and the same thing happened with Pope John Paul II, who grew up in a town with many Jews. In spite of that, the conflicts that are there are more on an institutional level. See, the Catholic Church, what Pope Francis is trying to do with things like the World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro and other, is to bring together individuals, people, parents, children, friends, And that is what's going to open the door to relationships between different religions and between different countries and different language cultures.
I think of a personal experience. My physician, M. Zudi Jasser, practicing Muslim. His father moved to Phoenix, and only in America could you have a practicing Muslim and his partner, a practicing Jew, in medical practice together. So we rejoice at the spiritual freedom we have in the United States, but as we look around the world, it is a stark contrast. Father James, we appreciate your insights, and you came all the way from Rome. We're glad to have you here.
Well, we'll be waiting for your visit in Rome. Next time we can broadcast from St. Peter's Square.
That is an excellent idea.
Let me
Let's
get
take
the,
that up with the boss.
Yeah, we'll get that on the schedule right now.
You're always welcome.
Hey, great to see you, Father.
Great to be here.
Back with more here on America's Forum. Of course, we want to hear from you as well. You can reach out to us on our social media platforms. What do you think Pope Francis has done for the Catholic Church in his 1 year of his papacy? Our contact info is right here on the screen. Write it down and reach out to us. We'll be back with more after this.
Tonight we are a country awakened to danger and called to defend freedom.
But by the content of their character. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.